Hello, I'm Carrie Gard, and welcome back to Tea Time with Tech Marketing Leaders. If you are here with us, say hello. We love to know that you're here, and I am monitoring the comments. If you have questions, please ask away. We might not get to them today because, as you all know, I like to take this up to the absolute nth degree, that 59-minute mark. So if we don't get to your questions, still ask them, and we will address them in the comments later on. But we're here for it, and that's the beauty of being live. We want to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. I'm excited for today's conversation, so I won't be surprised if you have a ton of questions, because I certainly do, as we unpack how to launch a book and weave that into your marketing strategy. I have an expert with me today. I have Anri du Toit. Well, didn't say that right. I practiced it and everything, and I still don't think I said it right. Anri is going to fix that for me in a second. But let me give you a little bit of background. So Anri is a dynamic and results-oriented marketing professional with a proven track record of success in developing and executing strategic marketing initiatives. With over a decade of experience, she has demonstrated expertise in business marketing, marketing communications, corporate events, and digital marketing. As the head of marketing at Xero Cybersecurity and IT Support, she leads a dedicated team to drive brand visibility and achieve business objectives. Anri, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kerry. Lovely to be here. I'm super excited. And just by the way, my name is pronounced perfectly. It's Anri du Toit. So well done.
Oh, you never know how it's going to come out when you say it on air. And so I was like, oh, I don't know that sounded right, but yay. Yes, that's important to me. So I'm glad that I got that right. And I'm so excited to have you. I did a brief synopsis from your LinkedIn profile, but what's the story of how you were able to accomplish all these amazing things? What do you do now, and how did you get there, Anri?
So Kerry, just to basically what I do now, I'm head of marketing at Xero, as you mentioned earlier, and I basically make sure that everything from brand awareness right through to bringing in new leads, generating leads, that all happens within our department. Now, basically where I come from. So I was growing up, I was very lucky to have a very driven mother. And I think I got my drive from her basically. But I had a very business oriented, driven mother, and she believed in raising her kids, what do you call it, streetwise. So every other odd week, every once a month or twice a month, she would take us to one of her clients and take us through their whole production process. So we went to various different places, like for example, the place where they print newspapers, Caxton, and we saw how they print newspapers, we saw how they print magazines, the whole process up to printing, how that worked. I was even in Cadbury, which was obviously one of my favorites being a child. I was in a chocolate factory. So I had all this exposure to all these different things. And I firmly believe that has changed the way I look at things and how I interpret things and how I read the market. So ever since I was young, I had these weird ideas. So one of the things, for example, I always tell it is when I was in grade 3. Now that's like 8 or 9 years old. We had a market day in school, and I went home, and my mom said, "Okay, what are you going to sell?" So I said, "No, I want to sell balloons." Now you can sell anything, like literally anything. If you want to sell dolls, you can sell dolls. If you want to sell burgers, you can sell burgers. I wanted to sell balloons with helium in them. So my mom's like, "But why?" So I said, "Because people will buy it." She's like, no one's going to buy a balloon with helium. I'm like, who's going to do that? And I was adamant, that's what I want to do, because the boys are going to buy it to make their voices sound funny, you know? And needless to say, so sorry, I missed a core part of the story. So I was in a very big school. It was grade 1 to matric. So in UK, in US, in American terms, I think that's elementary right through to senior year.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
So the high school boys would buy it because they wanted the helium. And I started running out of balloons, so I started selling refills. And I went home. My mom came with, obviously had to help me with the helium, and she came with tissues and everything because she did not think this is going to work. But she left me because I obviously need to learn things my way. And she was like, I cannot believe this worked. So ever since, I've always looked at things differently. I've always had a very weird way of interpreting things and reading my audience. And yeah, I believe that that has evolved the way I look. I've already mentioned it, sorry, the way I look at things, the way I interpret things. And that has set the path for me to guide me into marketing. So obviously after school, I did a degree in corporate communications because I wasn't really sure which um, avenue I wanted to go into marketing. I mean, it's such a broad field. You can go into
Yes.
advertising, you can go into media, journalism, whatever you want, you know. So I studied corporate communications, which really covers everything. And after working for about 2 years, I realized that my strength is in reading my audience and setting up strategies. So I had a plan and I've worked towards it, and that's where I am today. So yeah, that's me in a
I
nutshell.
love that story. Oh my gosh. That is fantastic. 8 years old, and you figured out that, of course, senior boys are gonna want helium to make their voices sound funny. That is yes to that. Mm. Oh, I just wanna, like, take that in because I think it's not often that we know at an early age that we wanna be marketers, right? When people ask us, "What do we wanna be when we grow up?" It's doctors, nurses, I wanna fly to the moon, but it's never marketing. And so to find somebody who, like, figured this out so early on and has been such a driven to make it happen, in such a unique way. So let's talk about the industry you ended up in because that's such a creative story of where you began, and now you're more on the B2B tech side. So how did you find yourself in cybersecurity in particular? It's a hard market to get into. So what was your path into that?
I'm so glad that someone said that it's a hard path because it is extremely difficult. It's honestly the most difficult and most challenging industry I've ever been in.
Yes.
So, you know what? I worked at a software company many years ago as in the marketing department, and I really enjoyed the IT side of it. I think it's because it's so dynamic, it's constantly evolving. And I like the people. It's really I really like the people. so so yeah, I was in IT in B2B. B2B is extremely difficult. It's not as fun and creative as people would generally think it's not as fun as creative. We make it fun and creative.
We
But
do. Yes.
yes, but it's not as fun and creative as the traditional advertising avenues, and it's most certainly not an easy path. So I was there. I ended up being in events management, and from there, I went back into the trade, into marketing, into property marketing, and then I ended up in cybersecurity at Zero. And I think it's a passion for B2B. I look at things, as I said earlier, I look at things very much differently to other people. I don't use the traditional, which is why we're here. I don't use the traditional marketing paths that other people use for B2B marketing because it's so difficult to reach your market. So instead of only focusing on your B2B channels, focus on everything. And I think that's why I enjoy it. It's such a challenge. And you're constantly trying new things, trying new avenues, things to do to reach your market and actually convert them into hot leads. So yeah, that's cybersecurity, and cybersecurity has evolved. It's actually become it's I think it's caught me in its web. It's interesting because I understand it now. To well
Yes.
understand it as a marketing person would understand it. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's really, I enjoy a good challenge, and that's 100% what cybersecurity is.
Yes. And it does come down to the people that make it so challenging,
Yes.
and to connect with those people in a very intentional and authentic way, is really what needs to happen in the industry, and as marketers meeting those folks in the industry. So it sounds like with your love for the IT crowd and with your ability to see things differently, you have this lovely dichotomy that sort of come together for you. In terms of your job now and what's going on, we're all human and life is hard. So what's a challenge that's currently in your way when it relates to your day to day, this audience and the industry you're in? We're in.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So our biggest challenge. So firstly, when I started here, and it took me quite some time to figure it out. So when I started at Zero, my biggest challenge was I'm South African, and I know the South African market really well, and we've got a very humoristic challenge, humoristic um, culture in the country, and we make fun of everything because the life is so serious, you know. And then I started working for this UK based firm, and I had to adapt and change my approach to understand the UK crowd and the UK audience. And that was extremely challenging. It literally took me about, and I had no one to really do it from a marketing background to say, okay, but listen, yeah, this and this and this is not going to work. And this and this and this is not going to work. And we didn't have the data for me to go back on and understand why it didn't work. So I literally ran campaigns, and then I'm like, why is it not working? Why is it not working? It's amazing. It's so funny. Or it's so on point because this would totally work. And then I realized, I spoke with a few people in the UK. I did my research in that market, not only the market that I was used to. I did my research, and that's how we actually got to understand the UK market. And yeah, today our biggest challenge is building trust, getting our buyer to trust us. So, especially in the IT industry, it is extremely difficult. Remember, when people sign up with us, they sign up, it's a long term commitment. You're not going to marry a guy if you've known him for 5 minutes. You're not going to sign up with an IT company if you've known them for into if you just met them and you've seen them twice on a screen. So
Yep.
that's our biggest challenge at the moment, is building trust, getting the buyer to trust us so that we can convert them throughout the journey. And one of the so it's actually twofold, to be very honest with you. So the one side is they've been burned before, so they've
Mhm.
been through 3 or 4 or 5 IT companies in the last 10 years, and the one was worse than the other. This one doesn't perform, that one doesn't perform, they don't get a bang for their buck, you know.
Mhm.
So they've been burned before. What's going to make Zero any different? And remember
Mhm.
that that's very important, because I'm going to come back to that. What makes us different? So so the question is, what makes us different? Why do they need to sign up with us? The second thing is, remember, when someone signs up with an IT company, they give the IT company the keys to the castle, because we get access to their entire IT infrastructure, the entire system. So it's such a big risk to employ a company that you're not familiar with, that you don't know. And obviously, it is for us, we can go. A lot of people have said, yeah, but you need to run brand awareness campaigns. Yes, we have. We've done all of that. The thing is, on a brand awareness campaign, you and I both know that brand awareness is extremely expensive. I mean, if you don't have the budget for it, if you have, let's
Sure.
say, 1,000 quid a month, okay, you can't run a proper brand awareness campaign, because if you spend that on LinkedIn, you need to replicate it on the other channels. You need to replicate
Mhm.
it in the tubes. You need to have a full on brand awareness campaign to really make a difference. Whereas we've been struggling with it. I mean, we even have, and this has been really great, but we even have office space in London, retail office space in London. It's this
Retail.
retail. It's in Farringdon Road. We have retail office space in London. It's a B2. We do B2B business. We don't do. We've got walk-ins, but we don't really. I mean, we don't service the public, but we've got retail office space in London for the main purpose of creating brand awareness. So we've
Interesting.
really, yeah, so we've been through all these challenges, really trying to say, you can trust us, you can trust us. We've been in the business for 18 years. Look at all our case studies, look at all the white papers. We've got all this knowledge and everything, but it really doesn't resonate because that's what we put out there. So
Right.
that, yes, so we ask the question, what makes us different? And that's how we came up with the book, because now we've taken the case studies, we've taken a book, we've put Isaac, our CEO's face on the book because he's the face of the brand. We've put him on the book and we're giving this book to people. We're making it available to people to say, if you struggle with your cybersecurity, you don't need to spend £1 million on it. You can build your own strategy. You can follow the guidelines in the book, and and you can implement your own cybersecurity strategy based on this, and you will be secure. So we're building that trust. We're giving people guides as to how to do it. We're building the trust, and then that resonates with our audience, putting us in the trusted seat.
Okay. So in terms of the challenge you're currently facing, twofold. One is building the brand awareness, which is expensive, which sounds like you had some creative ways of managing that. And I feel like that's a whole other show of itself. And two is the trust factor. And while brand awareness helps build trust at the end of the day, to your point, it's still everything that we as the brand put out there. So why should anybody trust us if we're the one, obviously we're the ones saying it, right? So let's come back to the book for a second, because this is where we're really going to sit. And I thank you so much for doing my job for me there, Anri, and leading us into the conversation.
Sorry.
No, I'm good with it. I'm good. I'm here for it. So in terms of the challenge and building trust, and you said it, like, how can people trust us if it's just what we're saying? Well, isn't that what the book's doing?
Sorry,
Right?
just
Like
repeat
if
that again. Sorry.
you've created the book, if Isaac has written the book,
Mhm.
that it's everything that you guys are saying, right? So why should people trust you when they're reading the book? What's the difference between everything you've been doing from a brand awareness standpoint to now putting out a book?
So we've got the book, we've launched it on Amazon, we got it to bestseller status. So it's a bestseller. So it was a bestseller in 2 countries, in the UK as well as the US, and in 3 categories, which was amazing. It was like the cherry on top to find out that it was in 2 countries. And in
That's
all those
amazing.
categories, it was really amazing. But anyway, back to the story. So we launched the book. It became a bestseller. So it's literally like it's the same concept as as receiving an award. Okay, so you've got all these awards out there that companies apply for. Now, some of those awards are really amazing, and I would we got 2 awards last year, which is really fantastic. However, because of all the awards that's out there that's paid for, it kind of runs that kind of makes awards in general, even the good ones, a little watered down. So
Totally.
yeah, so we've got those awards and we're using them in our brag packs, but it's really it doesn't have the impact it should have. So what we've done is, no one enjoys reading a white paper. I mean, when is the last time you downloaded a white paper? So
Well, I mean, I
so
downloaded them, but I didn't necessarily read.
exactly, no. If you download them, you don't read them. so you've got white papers there that creates credibility. I'm not saying don't have white papers. You still need white papers because it adds to the. I mean, it's like it's in terms of building trust, it's very similar to marketing. You can't market on one platform and expect a return on investment. Same with trust. You can't have the book and expect people to trust you. You need to have multiple different elements to build the trust and say, okay, they have been in business for 18 years. They have a book that they've launched. The book was a bestseller on Amazon. They have white papers, they've got case studies, they've got testimonials. So they've got all these, this all forms part of a book, of a trust pack that you are building. Same with your marketing pack, all the channels that you're marketing on. But sorry, I'm digressing.
Yeah.
Your
No,
question.
what you're saying is it comes back to credibility. So what the
Yes,
book is doing is that even though it's you putting it out there with everything that you have to say, it's building that credibility because people are buying it, and then it's actually showing up as a bestseller, right? You can't will people into buying the book to the point where then it's a bestseller across Amazon in 2
exactly.
countries. So it's the
That's yeah.
credibility piece.
That's exactly what it is. We've got the book, and I mean there are many companies out there who has books on the market, but it's really a book that sells the business. Now, this is a book that really it there's no selling. We removed all the selling elements because there's nothing as horrible as reading a book and then the book redirecting you back to the original author. The
Right.
only reference we have in the book to say you can reach out to the author is to say, if you have any further questions, you can reach the author. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we give as much as possible information because we want to help people. In addition to, obviously, we want business, but that's not what it's all about. It's also about really helping people, and that's it. That's actually a completely different audience. There's two sides to having a book. The one is to help people, but the other one is companies who are looking for IT, looking for an IT company, comes onto our website. They see that we've got the book there. We've got the book. The book was a bestseller. It's affiliated with Amazon, and it just adds to the credibility. It adds to the trusting element, and that's where the book slots into the marketing strategy, and one of the reasons why we've done it.
The other thing you mentioned that I want to note too about the book, because I think this is important, is it sounds like, and I haven't read it, but maybe that will change after today. It sounds like the book basically is a framework, a roadmap, you could do this yourself, even though these are all things we would do for you. We are giving you basically the
Yes,
playbook on how we do our jobs. So have at it. You can do this all by yourself. And if you want us to do it for you, we can help you out. But at the end of the day, it's really about helping companies. There's a lot of companies who want to start figuring it out themselves to see what this would even feel like. And then once they get to a point where they can't scale it, then they bring in help, right? So you're building that trust of we know what we're doing. And
yes.
and you can start off it feels like it also allows you to get in the door sooner with companies that wouldn't be ready for you yet.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So the book is basically a framework, as you said. It's a framework of what you need to have in place. It all boils down to the basics, and we highlight all the basics in the book. This is what you need. If you have these, you are secure. Now, there are other things, but these are the that you can do to further safeguard yourself. However, these are the basics. If you have this in place, you will be secure. Further, in addition to the basics, we also have, like for example, the CEO of the Cyber Resiliency Center of London, Simon Newman. He's also featured in the book, and we talk about his chapters on CES. Sorry, so we talk about CES, so Cyber Essentials, in his chapter, and why it's important to have Cyber Essentials, how it's going to help your business if you have Cyber Essentials, because it opens up a whole new market for you. We have an interview in the book about IoT with Professor Raj. Now, Professor Raj is a professor at City University of London, but he's also actually a head of Xero's head of research and development, the research and development department. Sorry. So we've got an interview with them. We interviewed quite a few people that's very knowledgeable in the field, and well, basically provide you with that information so that people can say, okay, this is IoT, this is why it's important, this is how I can safeguard myself, my business, as well as my home, by using this book. And why, well, I already mentioned why it's important. So yes, just to come back to your question, it is a guide, but it also provides additional information to people to say this is the basics of technology and cybersecurity and why you need to have it in place.
It's the long game too. All right. I'm going to get back
Mm.
on track, Anri. Thank you for setting the book up. I think it's just important that while it was Isaac that wrote the book, what's in the book lends itself from a
Mm.
marketing standpoint. Like you said, we do a lot of white papers, we put a lot of information out there, and we always are a little bit worried about giving away our quote unquote secret sauce. And newsflash, there is no secret sauce. Number one. Number two, it comes down to showcasing what we know and how we know it,
Mm.
and letting people be able to try and do it themselves. I know that doesn't
Yeah.
always pan out, but it's important to give them the right. They're going to go try and figure it out themselves regardless.
Yes,
But if you give them the
exactly.
playbook to do it the first time,
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like if you go onto, well, quite a few companies do it. They make these playbooks available that people can do, and people try to do it, and then they usually end up not doing it, or that's not the idea. So we've got it's a full on the whole idea is to really help people. But like I said, there's the marketing strategy, the book strategy is twofold. The one is to really help people. The other side is to build the credibility. So the person that's going to buy the book is not necessarily going to be our client. They might become our client further down the line, but that's not
yeah,
our client as to who we would necessarily service. The person that goes onto our website and is looking for a new IT supplier is going to see the book. They're going to see, well, it was a bestseller. Well, these guys must really know what they're doing. Obviously, on the back of the book, we also have Isaac attending a whole bunch of events where he speaks about the book, and not necessarily the book, but shares his knowledge that's in the book and links the two. So we've got this whole marketing strategy behind it, and that all adds to the credibility and to the user looking for a new IT company. It redirects them to us, and it just helps them to actually trust us and show them we really know what we're talking about.
yes. Okay, let's get into it then, because you're on the journey with us here, Henri, and you're leading us to the path. Let's talk first about, as the marketing director, what role did you play in the production of the book?
So, okay, so basically, I was involved, well, obviously, from the beginning. We sat together, we decided, okay, we're going to get this book together. So, we made a plan. This is what needs to go into the book. This is how we're going to do it. This is the guide. We met with the publisher and we delegated responsibilities. Now, I don't write. Um, I can write, but that's not my passion. So I was driving the entire process, from making sure that we stick to the deadlines. If you want to put it that way, I was the project manager of getting the book on the market. I was liaising with the publishers. I was liaising with regards to the cover. Like, we were the base of the book was actually done before we had the cover sorted, believe it or not. We were up and down, up and down, up and down. We had so many options with book covers, and eventually we decided on this one. But yeah, so I was the project manager of the entire book up until launch day. Okay. Then when it came to the launches, that's where I came in. So in terms of launches, I was the drive behind it. I had an amazing team supporting me, getting everything off the ground and getting that sorted. And then after the launch, that is when my real work started. So, because now I am sitting with the book and we have built it into our entire marketing strategy, content strategy for the rest of the year. So having a book is not only amazing for building your credibility and really showing people that we know what we're talking about, but it's also amazing for marketing because it really takes that every month or every quarter sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? It takes that away because now we've got 10 topics that we can use. And I've got 10 topics that I can use, well, for 10 months, or depending on how long I use, I have a topic on a month per month. And I basically have, so the first topic is going to be IoT. We've got a IoT webinar coming up. We've got a IoT blogs on IoT. We've got our newsletter on IoT. So, and everything comes from the book law, from the book. So that is now where I'm currently at is, so that's where I'm currently at. But to answer your question, sorry, see, I digress quite a bit.
No,
But
you're
to
good.
answer
You're
your
good.
question, I was the project manager of the book and I managed the whole process, made sure that everything ran smoothly. In the background, I got the marketing strategy in place, how we are going to take this book to market. And now I'm busy with the content strategy, how we are going to build this into our monthly content, getting that off the ground, and just providing regular content to our audience.
Okay, let's talk about the marketing strategy. Because so you helped project manage this, you got it off the ground. How did you I feel like this is twofold, right? Where you have two jobs. You have to market the book while still marketing the company. Or did you just put everything into the book hoping that the book would then market the company naturally? How was sort of the overall approach to the marketing strategy before you put the nuts and bolts in place?
So, yes, you are correct. That's twofold, 100% twofold. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's actually two different audiences. So, the person
Yeah.
looking for the book is not necessarily, they could convert into our clients. However, that's not to say that they will be our clients. Whereas someone going onto our website looking for an IT company, it's just going to help them. So, that's where my whole marketing strategy would be at, is in this box of someone coming to our website. But on the so let's just quickly go back to marketing the book. So marketing the book, we've got PPC ads on Amazon, and that just runs with the books. In terms of cybersecurity, obviously it's a very, very niche market. So we've got PPC ads running, that's running in the background, and then we're just bringing that, replicating that on our socials and making people aware of the book. Like, for example, for Christmas, we said these are the perfect Christmas stocking fillers. We try to get a little creative with it. However, it is B2C. It's not that's a B2C side. So those lines really blur quite a bit. But yeah, that's on that side. In terms of the marketing the book marketing the book with our brand strategy, in terms of the zero strategy, that's me. That's where I'm very passionate about it. So that really comes down to working the book into our strategy, what we're putting out there. And that comes back to webinars. So we've got the webinar that we do on a monthly basis. The webinar also gets converted into a podcast. So we've got that running, and each chapter will form part of that. It's the monthly topics that we're using. All of that goes back into the book, and we pull content from there. And then obviously we also have Isaac, who's going to all these events and talking about the book. So Isaac gets invited to quite a few events. He's actually on his way to an event in March. From there, he's going back to London, where he's got two other events. So, and on these events, at these events, we obviously make use of the book quite a bit, because it elevates his credibility as well as Zero's credibility. And once again, coming back to our trust challenge, it builds trust.
Let's talk about events for a second, because I do think, from my understanding, I have not written a book. It's on my wish list for some time in my life that I will write one, um, just to say that I did it. To add value back into the world, but just, there's just something about this idea of, like, putting so much wonderful effort into
It's
something and having
it's
a
your
fun.
baby. It becomes your
Yes.
baby. I didn't even write this book, and it's my baby.
Yes. But there's something that lends itself to events. So what I do know is that when you do write a book, one of the outcomes that you're sort of looking for in doing that is getting on a speaker circuit, essentially, where you go and you promote the book, along with essentially in this case, Isaac's expertise in the space. So it sounds like, did Isaac have a lot of speaking engagements before the book? Did he have some, but the book's elevated it? What's sort of been the transition in around events with the book being a catalyst for that?
So Isaac has been a speaker forever. so so he's always been a speaker. He's a very good speaker, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, because like me with marketing, having very weird and different ideas, Isaac has very different ideas when it comes to cybersecurity. And he tends to challenge the status quo. And so people love inviting him, companies love inviting him onto their panel discussions, because it's a different opinion, it's a different view. And it's really true. He basically says that, so everyone says that you need to train your staff in order to, I'm just giving you some background so that you understand what I'm talking about. So Isaac says that you need to train your staff in order to prevent a cyber attack. Now Isaac says you can train your staff, but that should not be the only barrier. You need to have a system in place that's going to prevent an attack, because having that pressure on your staff is going to, that's it's so much, it's so heavy. It's you can't expect your staff to identify a hack, or to identify a phishing attack. It's crazy. So and that's one of the things that he, that's only one of the things that he says, but it's my favorite. So oops, sorry. So he gets these invitations for to speak on panel discussions quite regularly. After the book launch, it's been more regular. The only thing, you mentioned that you want to launch a book, you want to write a book one day. If I can give you a little bit of advice, please don't do it in November, because if you aim to get some traction of it, we suffered over December.
Right.
So now people
Right.
are getting back, journalists and everyone are only getting back now. And we are now starting to see an increase in requests for these kinds of events now, because everyone has shut down for the Christmas period. So that was this, unfortunately, the only thing for us, is the timing was perfect in our minds, because it was, we're going to do it with our Christmas party. We're
Oh,
going to have this, we had this amazing launch in London with our Christmas party and everything, and everything was fantastic. But we did lose a little bit of speed in terms of reaching out to journalists over the Christmas period. But things are starting to pick up now.
that's exciting. Again, great advice. So it sounds like the timing was something you all wanted to say, we're gonna do this at our Christmas party so everybody can be there. That wasn't
Yes.
a happenstance of, this is just when the book happened to be ready. Were
No,
you a
we
little bit
said we said it was a brilliant idea by myself. I'll take that one on the chin. I said, we wrote this entire book in 3 months. That's another tip that I can give you.
Wow.
Please do not write a book in 3 months.
Yes, no
Give
to
yourself
that.
at least
Poor
six.
Isaac.
Give yourself at least 6 months. But we wrote this whole book in over a 3 month period, because I said we have this Christmas party. We're getting all of our clients to into one space. So let's not only launch it in next year, let's launch it with the Christmas party. It's going to be amazing with all the lights and it's going to look so pretty, not thinking what's going to happen afterwards. So that was the
Oh,
only, that was, if I look back at the ups and downs of the campaign, and I look at what we did right and what we did wrong, the only thing I would 100% change is the timing.
that is really fair. So let's talk about how you're marketing. So you launched the book, you're running PPC ads on Amazon and across some other channels for the book itself, which is, as you mentioned, a different audience. Fair. Um, in terms of let's sort of wrap up that audience so we can move on, because I do think there's value in marketing to those folks for two reasons. One is, like we said earlier, they might not be customers now, but they might implement your book, get to a good spot, and then scale and then realize they need some help and they know exactly who to go to because they use the book to do it. That is a long game. The second thing is, I imagine that there is ROI in that. You're selling a book, right?
Yes.
So from outcome standpoint, when you set out to sell the book, what were the KPIs of that in relation to the buying audience? Were there any, or was it solely to create credibility for your potential clients on the ZheroIT side?
So our KPIs, because we've never really, he was involved, he was a co-author for two books previously, but he wasn't as involved in the process as we are currently. So in terms of KPIs and those kind of things, we didn't really have KPIs as to how many books need to be sold. Our KPIs were, we need to be a bestseller, ideally in two countries. So the publisher was very confident that we will be in the US. She knows the US market like the back of her hand. Okay. So she was very confident that it's going to be a bestseller in the US. She's not UK based, so she was not sure. She said, we're going to try and work on it, but we're not sure. It's obviously a completely, as I mentioned earlier, coming from South Africa, going into the UK market, it was it was interesting. Now it was the same for her. So it was a little touch and go in the beginning with regards to entering the UK market on the book launch side, because you have to, it's a different set of keywords, it's a different way to approach the market. But we reached that target of becoming a bestseller in two markets, in cybersecurity and both, and then we were also into other categories. So the one was malware and antivirus, and the other one was also IT related. I can't remember what the third category was, but they were all IT related categories, obviously, because it's a cybersecurity book. So so that was the first KPI, and then the second KPI was okay. Just quickly back to in terms of book sales. So we didn't have a specific KPI for how many books would be sold because we didn't know what to expect. We literally we were completely in the dark. Our
Right.
drive behind this was to build the credibility, to help us to say to companies, look, you can trust us. We've got a book on the market. It was a bestseller. It was an Amazon bestseller. So there's that brand affiliation. So that was our main goal behind the KP, behind, as I mentioned earlier, our main goal. Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. So the any ROI from the book is like a nice to have. Woohoo!
Exactly, exactly. Sorry, I forgot to add. You mentioned earlier, companies, people who buy the book could become our clients. 100%. I'm totally with you on that. The problem we have with that though is that because it's sold on Amazon, and it's the only downside. I mean, Amazon is
Oh,
amazing because people buy the book, and we just pull the royalties. To be very honest with you, we just pull the royalties because we don't have to mail a book. We don't have to worry about getting boxes or a courier company or anything. It's literally all. We don't have stock. We don't have to worry about stock. It's all print on demand and it's available next day. So someone
Wow.
would go onto Amazon, they buy the book, print on demand, it's available the next day. They worry about everything.
Yes,
So
that
it really, it's amazing, honestly. So that's a massive upsell. The other thing with Amazon is we're available on so many different platforms, like for example Goodreads, Barnet, I think it's Barnet and Noble. There are so
mhm.
many different platforms, they all plug into Amazon.
Right.
So when someone buys a book, it still goes through that process. So we don't have to worry again. We don't have
To
to
try and get it
worry.
into these bookstores either. That's amazing.
Yeah, yes. So it's not physical bookstores though. We are in the process of in the application
Okay.
process. Not in the process, we're in the application process to get into bookstores. Um, and that would be nice to have, but we're in the but in the online platforms all plug into Amazon, so they facilitate the entire process and we don't have to worry about it. The downside is that Amazon does not give you the data of who bought the book, so there's no
Oh,
way for us to remarket to them, and that is
right.
such a downside. So that's a downside. However, it's we
You've built
hope
the
that
brand
they will.
awareness though, so they know who wrote the
Yes,
book and they know that if they need help, they know where to go. So it's still there. But yes, yes,
yeah.
losing the
So
remarketing
selling
is.
those books. Yeah, sorry, you were saying sorry.
Have you seen an uptick though? I'm curious. One of my favorite metrics to measure when it comes to brand awareness is branded impressions for organic search. So when you're looking at your keyword of ZeroIT, since you've launched the book, have you looked at that metric? Have you seen an uptick in your brand? Do you feel like it's
So
impacted you that way?
So we have not seen a brand in our zero metric. If you look at the zero, how many
Sure.
people have said zero. So we have not seen an uptake in that. However, we have seen a spike on our website traffic. We have seen a spike on our an increase in our engagements on our socials. So we have seen an increase, not in the brand itself. However, our socials, our website, that
Okay.
all reflects it. So, and this was over the December period, just putting it out there.
See, you still had impact over December. It
Yes.
wasn't a complete loss. That is amazing. Um,
Yeah.
in terms of where you are today with the Zero IT brand and using the book, you sort of mentioned it, that you're using it from a content standpoint. What does that look like in terms of, is it basically taking the book and boiling it down every month, or are you having themes? The other thing you mentioned is
Mm.
webinars, which I find fascinating because I didn't know they were still a thing, since I thought they were sort of. I'm under this notion that they were a thing during COVID because we had nothing else to do.
Yes.
and and so I'm surprised that they're working for you and it's something you still do pretty heavily. So how are you tying all of these pieces together? You have the webinar, you have the podcast, you have the book, and it sounds like you're using the book and the content to create topics across
Yes.
these other places. Okay.
So that is exactly what we do. So the book has 10 chapters, and each chapter will become a topic. So we will have like for example, a CES topic for the month. Our monthly topic would be CES, so cyber essentials. So what we would say is Cyber Essentials webinars. Yes, webinars are kind of a thing of the past. But what we've started doing is we removed the presentation. So it's
Okay.
literally exactly like what we are doing here.
On the podcast.
You record it, and there's a visual element, but we also transcribe. We also take the audio and then
Yep.
upload that, and that becomes our podcast. So it's actually podcasts, if you want to call it that. um
Well, I think the
But
difference is, this is really helpful because the difference in my understanding, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm totally for that, is the difference between a webinar and a podcast, or like what we're doing right now, is that there's no barrier to entry. So in a webinar, you generally need to sign up and register, and that's sort of behind a closed door over
oh
on
yes,
Zoom that you can't get to unless you register, versus a podcast like we're doing, where ours is live right now and you'll be able to access it across all of the other channels at a later date. So is that sort of the difference? Are you still gating it for the initial recording? How are
yes.
you? Okay.
So yes, you are 100% right. So in terms of a webinar, you need to sign up, but we open we open our webinars. So you have to sign up because ultimately, why do you want to do a webinar? You want to do a webinar because you want to start when people join. There's obviously a need for it within their business. So we want to reach out to them afterwards and see how we can assist them in order to well, why did they join the CS webinar? Did they find it helpful, and how can we assist them? That's basically why we want the contact details. So we do ask for contact details. However, if they don't want to get it, we've got a live link that they can just join.
Okay.
So it's really like we've got the, if you want to call it like it's not a double whammy, it's really like in between, because
Yep.
we're asking people to sign up. However, I have seen like a very big decrease, let's say from about June last year, where people do no longer sign up. So where we used to get about 50 signups, we now would get 25. We were 50 signups and 30 people would join. We would now get 30 signups, but the 60 people would join. So I've seen the swap in
Interesting.
that metric also. So yes, webinars are, I can see them going out for as long as they are there. I'm going to try and get the contact details.
That makes a
Because
lot of sense. So, but
they make the best leads. In all honesty, they make the best leads.
they're the most engaged because they're willing to sit through an hour conversation. Clearly that topic's really important to them. So they're definitely
Yeah.
bottom of the funnel. But interesting that more people are now joining and listening in now that they don't have to give their
Yeah.
details. That
Yeah. So we just
very
open
curious.
it, we keep it open, we keep it available for the public to just join. However, if they want to pre-register and have it in their calendar, they need to obviously submit their contact details.
Sure. It's almost like a tip jar. I was saying this to somewhere online or lately. I feel like email addresses have become like currency, where you sort of vote with your email address of whether you're willing, because it's not just about giving your email address, it's all the follow-up that you are committing to
Yes.
beyond it, right? Our audience isn't stupid. They know that if they're giving you your email address, they're going to get nurture
Exactly.
emails, and then sales is going to follow up with them at some point, right? So they're committing to that. And so if they're giving you their email address, they're saying, okay, I know what's to come and it's worth it to me. So I
Yes.
think for the people who are giving you their email address now, it seems even more valid that they're more ready to talk to you than even before, because they don't have to give you their email address now.
Exactly. And as I said earlier, when we reach out to these guys via phone call, they're almost always really good leads. So I can say 80% of them are amazing leads. So as long as they're willing to give their contact details, I'm signing them up.
Yeah. No, I think that's a brilliant strategy, and I haven't heard that before. And I think that's a lovely best of both worlds. I think it's the best of
Yes.
both worlds. I think that's wonderful. So in terms of where the book is now and where you're headed in terms of, it sounds like content is king and you're going to lean into that. Um, how are you're using it as topics? Are you using the content in any other way? You said you mentioned it for social. Is it just to help you create topics, or are you actually repurposing the content elsewhere
So we're repurposing the okay, so our
from the book?
content strategy, just to quickly, yeah. So our content strategy is basically we've got weekly blogs that we publish. We put a lot of effort into our content. So we've got our weekly blogs that we publish. We've got videos that we post. We've got our CEO Isaac. He often makes videos for us where he relays something like, for example, from the book. This is what happened, or like, for example, in last year, November, when we were just before the book launch, it was the Postal Museum's hack. It was a massive thing. It was like all over. And he made a video on it, and he's like, this is what happened. If you want to know more, the answers, or if you want to know how to prevent this hack, the answers in this book. This is what they should have done, but you can find more info in the book over here. So he makes all these videos for us that we can also utilize. Then also at the launch, so we had this amazing launch in London in November. That, pardon?
I wanted to be there.
I
I
know.
had so many
I was so
intentions to join
sad when
you.
you said you can't come.
No, I know. Oh, yeah. My heart was there, I promise. That's amazing. Yeah, so you had this beautiful launch in
Yeah,
London.
so we had this amazing launch. We brought our brand in, and we really blended the lines between the book and the brand. So our slogan or strapline, whatever you want to call it, is "Crush the Chaos." Okay, because we go in and we crush all your IT chaos, and we create harmony. So we had these lights in this glass box. Imagine this glass box. And we had all these lights that's like crazy busy and flashing, and it's like all different colors. It's pink and blue and purple and green and yellow and orange, all these different colors flashing and just waving around. And then it dims down and it just settles down, and then it becomes green, and that's when Zero comes in, because we created the harmony. So we had all these amazing things at the launch, and so we arranged for a photographer and a videographer to be there, and they took stock footage for us throughout the night, which is now my content for the remainder of the year. It's custom stock footage that's 100% on brand, that we
Oh,
can
that's
use.
cool.
We obviously have full rights to it, that we can use in our content when we publish stuff with regards to the book. So, and I've digressed again. I cannot remember what you asked. Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's your content strategy. So this all lends itself from using the book launch and the visuals from that into your content, to taking the chapters and bringing them in as topics throughout your webinar and podcast, and then creating blog posts around the content of the book, as well as your brilliant CEO making these videos. If we could all get our CEOs to make brilliant content on a regular basis, man, good on you, Isaac. Creating these videos for you that then point back to the book, as well as then you can use throughout your social. So I love how it's all connected. I love how you bring it back to the book. I think that it's this beautiful jumping off point, that if you can create a book around what you do so well, that differentiates you, and then draw from that for a whole year, maybe longer. I mean, that is power. And thank you so much, Anri, for sharing this with us. I'm so grateful. Before we go, where can people find you and your great team and ZheroIT?
So basically, if anyone has any questions, they can definitely go onto our website, which is ZheroIT.co.uk, or they can simply pop me a mail. So they can also reach me on communications at Zhero, again, ZHERO.co.uk.
And LinkedIn, because that's where we
Oh yes,
connected.
oh yes,
And
of
we can
course, of course.
definitely
And
hang out
all
on
our
LinkedIn.
socials. I'm so sorry. So you can also see everything that we've spoken about is also available on our socials. So you can go and have a look at all our amazing photos and videos and everything on our socials. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and what's the one that I'm missing? Twitter. Twitter. So you can go onto our socials. Definitely LinkedIn. I mean, we are very active on LinkedIn. So, and our
Yeah.
name on LinkedIn is Zhero Cybersecurity and IT Support.
Yes, and it's all linked here, so definitely
Oh,
check out their
nice.
beautiful content, feel inspired. I know I have. Anri, you're more than a marketer. You live in this gorgeous place in South Africa. What are you most looking forward to in 2024 outside of work now that sort of the dust is settling with COVID and we figured out how to live with it to some degree?
Outside of work, well, I would definitely say last year we had a very, very rainy year. Like literally our rains are only from about June to August. And last year the rain started in March and it only finished in November. So I'm looking forward to a very sunny year. And so we actually travel quite a bit, so we love going to places and exploring. I live in Cape Town, which is very close to the winelands, so we often go. My husband has a Harley Davidson, and we often get onto the Harley and go and explore all these wine farms. So with I'm anticipating that it's not going to rain. I'm very positive it's not going to be a rainy year, and we are going to travel all over.
I love it. I could just see you with your beautiful hair blowing in the wind on these wine trails, sipping away. Oh, it makes me want to come down there and hang out with you so bad, Henri. This was
Come.
amazing. I'm so grateful for this conversation. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. This episode was brought to you by MKG Marketing, the digital marketing agency that helps cybersecurity and complex brands get found via SEO and digital ads. It's hosted by me, Carrie Gard, CEO and co-founder of MKG Marketing. And if you want to be a guest, if you're a marketer in B2B and cyber, I'd love to have you on. Let's hang out. Let's chat. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Bye.